name's Ben Bellarado. I'm a doctoral student at the University of Arizona. I'm working at the School of Anthropology and the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research. And over the last 3 years, I've been working with Don Simonis and others at the BLM to record and document the rare instances of intact plaster decorations and building murals in the cliff dwellings scattered throughout the larger Cedar Mesa area. In this research, I've been concentrating on creating an inventory of sites containing intact building decorations from across southeastern Utah to track temporal changes in mural context and style over time and across this ancient social landscape. So we're doing this because even in backcountry settings, many of these sites and their decorations are in danger of destruction. They're getting impacted by ravages of time, increased visitation, and even looting. So there's a very real need to document these resources before they're lost forever. Luckily, archaeologists and federal land managers have organizations like the Canyonlands Natural History Association, who've provided funding for my project for the last 2 years, and the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research, who I'm working with and for to process my samples. So over the last 3 years, I've been working with a great cadre of volunteers. We've been scouring dozens of previously known and some unknown ancestral public cliff dwellings in the area, in places like Grand Gulch, Comb Ridge, Butler Wash, and others to identify rooms with decorated rooms in intact cliff dwellings. Now, some of these great volunteers are here today, and I just would like to thank you again for your help in rappelling and scrambling up and down cliffs, slogging through rainforests like canyon bottoms, dodging flash floods, pumping water from interesting puddles, ecosystems in them. So over the course of this field work, and in combination with previous work by Leip and Matson, Sally Cole, Tom Wines and Woodrats, and others, I've documented over 90 instances of building decorations, about 45 sites in the greater Cedar Mesa area, which complements a database I've been compiling of over 250 additional decorated buildings in the larger Four Corners region. So now some of these decorations are in the form of full-blown painted or incised murals, while others are but small remnants of larger plaster decorations that have either been hidden away under subsequent plaster layers and are only just partially visible, or where there's just small clumps of remaining plaster stuck to a badly degraded wall. So the preliminary results of these data show that across Cedar Mesa, buildings that were decorated were primarily decorated in one of three ways, basically three different styles. The majority were incised or scratched in the ground, dry plaster surfaces, usually in kiva interiors, and many others were painted in simple or complex monochrome or bichrome designs on both building interiors and exteriors. And at only 2 sites, we found some really unusual inscribed murals, where decorations were carved into the wet mud that was used to cover the exterior surfaces of occult walls at the precise moment of their construction. At about a dozen of these sites, with the best examples of each of these broad styles of building decoration, my volunteers and I have been returning to fully map these sites and the structures they contain in the murals in the specific buildings. We're recording all aspects of these sites to update, or in some cases start, site forms for these incredible places. We're also closely assessing the relative superposition of plaster layers in these structures. And we've been able to establish relative dating of many of the decorated plaster layers within the use lives of these structures, the decorated structures. So this is where it gets really cool. Okay, so where possible, we're also collecting dendrochronologic samples from intact wooden roof and wall construction beams, with the best examples of each style of mural decoration. Now, this sampling is aimed at dating the construction and remodel dates of decorated structures, and to correlate these dates with the plastering and decoration in each structure with similar decorative styles in contemporarily built and used buildings in the larger landscape. So over the course of this work, we've collected over 250 tree ring samples, and working with the staff of the Laboratory of Tree Ring Research, so far over 50 of these samples have returned a variety of dates, concentrated mainly in the early to mid-1200s. These dates, combined with relative dating of different styles of decoration in buildings, across the mesa show that in the larger area, ancestral Pueblo peoples decorated kivas and habitation rooms in similar ways, and that different styles and fashions of building decorations changed pretty much uniformly across the larger mesa through time. Specifically, beginning in about 1210, or within Lyman Matson's early Red House phase, many newly built or remodeled kivas were decorated with complexly incised decorations, often showing yucca sandals, painted tump bands, and cotton textiles. And several kivas also contain evidence of yucca and cotton textile production in the form of loom anchors or loom parts that are basically in direct association with these complex textile designs. So indeed, it is likely that at least some of these decorations were images of specific textiles that were actually being made in these rooms. And this allows us the rare opportunity to date and define specific instances of textile production and the proliferation of cotton textile and yucca sandal production in this part of the Mesa Verde region in the early 1200s. So however, over the course of the early 1200s, the theme of the incised decorations shifts from showing complex textiles to more naturalistic forms, like animals, plants, but almost never show people. And sometime between about 1240 and 1250, though, things really changed dramatically out there. First, the inscribed decorations begin to appear on the exterior of Hakal walls. And concurrently, or within about 5 to 10 years, pretty close as far as we go, the painted monochrome and bichrome style decorations appear on both the interior and exterior buildings, often in association with Hakal walls or nearby Hakal habitation structures. And indeed, this proliferation of these two styles of decoration appear to have been part of a larger trend in construction of Hakal walls, the pervasive form of architecture in northern Kayenta region. And this may represent changes in the ways that people viewed architecture and building decoration that accompanied an influx of small groups of people from the Kayenta region at this time, and their integration into the larger social nexus of the Cedar Mesa area. Excuse me. From about 1250 until the final depopulation of the Mesa about 1270, the painted style of decoration is pervasive across the area and beyond into the eastern Mesa Verde regions and central Mesa Verde area, and even as far east as the Gallina area. And it seems likely that this decorative tradition may have been an integral component in the spread of new religious ideologies across the region just prior to the large-scale depopulation of the region in the late 1200s. In the Cedar Mesa area, this painted style of decoration appears to develop and change over time as well. And over this 20-year period, simplified cotton textile designs and landscape elements were incorporated into these decorations, transforming them into idealized landscape depictions of peaks and canyons, suns, moons, shields, plants, and animals, and even the occasional human image. Given these data and my ongoing analyses, it appears by tracking and dating the distributions of different styles of building decoration at select sites, we can extrapolate onto the larger landscape and even beyond into the rest of the north and southwest, using these immobile types of material remains in special archaeological contexts to date sites in the 1200s that may have neither wood for tree ring sampling nor intact ceramic assemblages that we normally use to assign dates more specific than the mid to late Pueblo III period. So these dates can, these dates can also tell us a lot about building decorations. So for example, and the role they played in society. So for example, the incised decorations often appear in more public, or more private or small settings, whereas the later painted designs often appear in to communicate much larger social messages and potentially religious ideologies. We can also look at changes in actual clothing fashions, especially of ritually used textiles, such as these really ornate twined yucca sandals and cotton blankets. You can actually see changes in the style of clothing people wore over time. And we can also look at the rock art. We can look at similar imagery of complex yucca sandals and really ornate woven cotton textile designs in rock art to basically extrapolate those into the larger landscape. And what that tells us is that these images at different times probably performed and filled important political and social messages for these people in southeastern Utah. To conclude, there's a lot of really important work that needs to be done in southeastern Utah. As far as the Four Corners go, Southeast Utah, I think, really is a big void in our understanding, and there's a lot of really important questions we can answer about the interaction between Mesa Verde in Southeast Utah, or Southeast Utah and the Kayenta area, especially Navajo Mountain area. I think is a really important comparison that needs to be done. But there's a lot of resources out there that really need to be protected, and so we really need to make a big effort. And Don Simonis and Tom Wines, some of the other folks here, we're really trying to make that happen, and we need your support.